Welcome to the Gary Sinise Foundation Podcast. Today, I'm excited to bring an extraordinary couple, Medal of Honor recipient Sammy Davis and his wonderful wife, Dixie. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Honored to be here with you.
The Medal of Honor is perhaps our nation's greatest tribute to a person's selfless courage under extraordinary conditions. Sammy Davis is one of a very select group of people who have received this commendation in our nation's history. You don't earn it, you sacrifice for it. And Sammy did just that during the Vietnam War. His heroism is celebrated, but that's not what defines him. Rather, it's his and his wife Dixie's joint efforts in supporting veterans and spreading hope that drives him and them. So, Sammy.
Yes, ma'am.
What does it mean to you to wear the Medal of Honor?
It's from the day it was first hung on my neck. My name's on the back of it, but it just means I'm the caretaker. I represent all those who have served in the military by wearing this for them. And that's been many, many years ago now, but that's what's still in my heart. I know, well, this isn't mine. I wear it for all those who have served, represent them.
Sometimes he says it gets really heavy.
Yes. And we love talking to schools.
Yeah.
The questions that the kids, because I always tell them, I will answer any question that you have.
One little boy looked up, the second grade we did, he looked up at Sam, he goes, were you in the Civil War? You know how you always thought your grandparents were old? They might have been in their 40s.
He was serious. I mean, just melted my heart.
Yeah.
I love that it's a connection and it's a symbol
Yes.
and it represents
One
something.
asked him if he was the president.
I love it.
Maybe it's because you're just old. It's what they think.
No. Well, how about you, Dixie? What does it mean to you?
Well, it's kind of marrying into the Medal of Honor Society family. It's a responsibility.
Yeah.
You don't just get to, well, early on, when I would travel with Sam, we're always together. Like, really always together. Just kidding. I thought, well, my job is just I look out for him all the time, but I thought after a while, all the presentations, they become kind of similar. I thought, I've got to do something, I'm bored to death. So, and then I would get questions from the audience, and usually it was a spouse would say, it was almost like they didn't want to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Like, does Sammy ever talk about this, or does he have any PTSD? And I go, oh my goodness, yes. And you just see relief, because sometimes you think you're the only one. And then I name some of the real dumb stuff he does, and they all feel better. The one thing he still does, he's better now that he's old, but we'll be driving somewhere and he'll say, did you see that? And I'm looking for an accident, an animal, anything. I said, where? And he says, in the tree line. So that never goes away.
I'm just aware of what's happening. I mean, it's just an instinct that
Yeah.
I'm always watching everything.
Yeah.
I'm driving, but I'm watching what's happening, and Dixie didn't understand. Back then she didn't really understand.
No, she does, yeah.
So one day he asked me, he said, Dix, come up and talk with me. And I'm like, what? I
This
did.
was at a speaking event.
Okay. Oh, I love that.
And I never quit, because I'm the funny one. He's pretty serious. And we get some great questions. So, and I felt pretty comfortable doing that, because I'm an interior designer and I taught color design, marketing classes. So I was used to being in front of people, an audience. So it wasn't too scary. A lot of people really hate public speaking.
Yeah.
But I find it fun, because you never know what question you're going to get.
That's such a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Very positive.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why we enjoy talking to schools, because you never know what kind of you tell them, I will answer any question you have.
They'll keep you on your
Sergeant
toes.
Davis, where did you poop in the jungle?
Oh, my.
He wasn't being smart.
Oh,
I mean,
gosh.
you could just tell. He really wanted to know.
Yeah.
It didn't, behind a big tree.
That's so
I mean,
good.
then the little girl, Sergeant Davis says, yes, ma'am. How did you clean yourself afterwards? there again, she really wanted to know.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me. Banana leaves.
Oh my goodness.
And at that point I said, that's too much information.
We're going to cease on
Yeah.
that part right there.
I think what is rewarding about what we do, we're still on the road 200 days a year
My goodness.
doing motivational speaking, but someone will come up to you afterwards and say, you said exactly what I needed to hear today.
That's it.
So how do you quit? I mean, we're old. We're 77, 78, and we don't know what the word retire means, I guess.
You have a mission.
Well, as you know, the travel days get hard.
They do.
Airlines are not what they used to be. And but that once you're there, it's awesome. We have great times, but getting there is...
Getting there.
And sometimes you get to take a ferry boat over a river.
Apparently.
Yes.
Little surprises, little
Yeah,
adventures.
Yes. On the way here, our road ended and it said, take the ferry. So we waited in this
Little country roads. The computer
I
took us.
can't
the
even
country.
believe that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Just meant to be. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so Sammy, can you take us back and share the story of the actions that led you to receiving the Medal of Honor?
Well, yes, ma'am. We were out on operation. Our artillery's job is to support the infantry, and the infantry was on a big push, and so they brought us in, and we were providing support for them. 2 o'clock in the morning, they hit us, and there were 43 of us and 1,500 of them. They wanted to take out the artillery because they knew the artillery would take them all out when they attacked next morning when they attacked the infantry. So they were very serious. Well, we didn't quit trying, and they would 150 to 200 at a time would come at us from across the river, and the river was most of the way you could wade across, but there was just actually about 20 foot from my bank there was a drop off. So as they're coming across, they're wading in the water about this deep, and then all of a sudden, bloop, but then they'd pop right back up again.
But what did you actually do?
Well, I did my job as a soldier. I did my job as a soldier.
Yeah.
I'd been doing my job, and I seen Gwendell Holloway, one of my brothers, stand up in a foxhole and wave his hat at me. And somebody had to go get him. Well, I knew the condition everybody was in. I'd been shot 30 times with the beehive. I had an AK-47 round in my leg. My back was broke. My ribs were crushed.
You were injured, like severely injured.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The reason why my back was broken, my ribs was crushed, the howitzer, I was firing direct fire at the enemy. And we had all of our canisters that had the powder in them setting up right, but in a battle, they got knocked over, and water got in the powder. That kind of powder will still go, but it's got to fester, and then once it gets up enough pressure and heat in the canister, then it'll go ahead and go off. Well, that makes for a lot more recoil. And my recoil, they had hit me with a rocket-propelled grenade, and had blown my recoil mechanism off my gun. So the gun was just sitting there, but I had to keep using it. So every time I fired it, it would squirt back. Well, they were really shooting at me really, really, really heavy. So I was trying to get as much of my body behind the howitzer as possible.
And so then your comrades, your brothers in arms, are waving for help, but they're across.
They're across the river,
They're
yes.
across the river.
Yes.
So you have, in your condition, you cross the river.
Well, everybody else, all of us on my side were wounded. There was only one person that was not wounded. The rest of us were all wounded. I gotta go get my brother. In my heart, what it was thinking, you got to do for them what you know they'd do for you. So I went and got my brother. And when I thought there was just one, and when I got over there and made my way to the foxhole, now the enemy's still doing their job. There were 3 men in the foxhole, and I couldn't leave them. So I carried 2 back to the riverbank and went back and got the last guy, brought him to the riverbank, and then got him across.
Well, you thought he was dead, but you didn't leave him.
No.
You couldn't.
Jim Deister.
Oh.
He's alive and lives in Salina, Kansas. Jim was shot through the head. They walked up on him. The enemy walked up on him and shot him right through the chest, but it missed his spine. Hit his liver, but it missed his spine. And I thought he was dead, but I've seen what they had been doing to some of our dead. They'd walk up to and do weird stuff. I couldn't leave him. So that's why I went back and got him, brought him back across too. Jim Deister is one of the 3 men from that hole that is still living.
Isn't that incredible?
I mean, you can tell he was shot through the head, but God bless him. His grandchildren call me Grandpa.
As they should.
I love it.
I love it. So how did you carry them? How did you carry them?
Well, in the water, it's not hard.
Oh, in the water,
I was pulling them across, and then when I got to the bank, well, then my guys crawled down and helped me get them up out of the water and get them squared away.
Oh my goodness.
He still carried Jim, though. He put him across his shoulders. I don't know how he did it either.
Exactly. In your condition, too.
Yeah. But
you don't lose until you quit trying.
Yeah.
But Jim said he remembers Sam bringing him across, and he was laying face up on the only thing that they slept on these little air mattresses, but they were all full of bullet holes.
Where we were at, you was always in water. So when it came time to get your rest, you laid down on an air mattress. That kept you up. Well, anybody ever tried to sleep on an air mattress? You end up rolling off of it anyway. But we had to carry this.
Air.
Yeah, the pillow was the only thing that still had air in it, because everything else was blowed up. But that's what I put Jim on, was laying him up on the pillow and dragging him back across.
Yeah.
And it worked.
That is just incredible.
Okay,
you said kind of an ethos that reminded me of the Army, like you just don't quit. You just don't quit. So why did you join the Army?
From as far back as I can remember, my 2 older brothers all joined the military. Oldest brother was in the Navy. Oldest brother was in Korea.
Okay.
The next brother was in the Berlin crisis, which people don't even know about today, but it was extremely serious. It was a war, but they didn't want to call it a war. But when they came home, well, when we were out sitting around a campfire or whatever, they would tell me stories. And the reason why they done everything that they did was because of their love for their brothers. And that's when I went into the military, that's what I discovered, that I love my brothers. And I will do anything that is necessary for my brothers, because I love them. And that was
well, then you had all your family. They were all military.
Yeah, my dad, my grandpas. My mama's daddy was in World War I.
Wow.
And he didn't say anything about what happened until after I received my medal.
Really?
And my grandpa's got to come to the ceremony and sitting in a little room about like this. And it was the first time that my grandfather, John Helle, Helle, told me about some of the things that happened in World War I. And he said, "I'm just really proud of you, grandson. Thank you."
Oh, tell Cristin about joining the Army the day that you went to the recruiter.
I was going to join the Marine Corps.
Okay.
When I was still in high school, I was going to join the Marine Corps because some of the closest relatives in my family were Marine Corps.
Okay.
And I had always looked up to them, and of course they were proud of being in the Corps, so that's what I was going to join. Well, I was still in high school, but I was working summers, and I came home, and there were 5 of us from high school that were going to go down and join the Army. Well, we all had jobs, so we...
No, not join the Army, the Marines.
Excuse me. Yes,
yeah.
Join the Army, I apologize. We're all in line, and the Army line was moving The Marine Corps line, for whatever the reason, I think it was fate,
Mm-hmm.
the Marine Corps line, we were just standing there extremely slow moving forward. And we all had to, we had an hour and a half, then we had an hour, and then we had, before we had to go to work. So finally, we just stepped over into
What?
the Army line. And that's how I joined the Army.
That is meant to be.
Yeah,
The rest is history.
Yeah, the rest
So
is
great,
history.
yeah.
It was just because you had to get back to work.
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, we had to go to work.
Oh my goodness.
I was making $1.25 an hour. That was a lot of money back then. Seriously,
$1.25
Oh, yeah.
an hour.
$1.25 an hour.
What were you doing?
I was the cook in a bowling alley.
Shush, I love that.
Well, it was great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because I still love to cook.
Yep. That's
And you got
amazing.
to meet all the girls that came in.
Of course,
That
yes.
was the
Yeah.
that was the original reason why I went to work in the bowling alley.
Oh,
And
really?
they said, well, the only job we have a cook
Mm-hmm.
position opening. They had a really nice restaurant. I said, okay.
And then he got to cook in the Army
Yeah.
when he was too injured to do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And now he still cooks at home, but he makes soup, but everything is for 100 people.
Oh, shut.
Well, all of my recipes.
You're used to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just how big
Yeah.
my recipe is in my head.
I love that. I love
Well,
that.
it works.
That it does, yeah. So, Dixie, can you tell me what your first impression of Sammy?
I have known him since the 70s.
Okay.
We've been married 20 years, but I've known him since the 70s, and I was married to Tim Holliday, who was a hospital corpsman, and
He did 3 tours in
Wow.
Vietnam.
he actually died from Agent Orange cancer, but he was also an entertainer. A lot of times he was the entertainment where Sam was speaking.
Martin and Holiday
So-
was their group.
That's how I knew, we all 4 knew each other, his wife too. And my first impression was, he usually was in uniform. I thought he was a little stiff, actually. I had that military stance, and I wanted to just say, loosen up a little bit. But, so I had to look up exactly what the Medal of Honor was. And Tim did 13 years Navy medicine, but still, and they were friends. They all knew each other
were
too.
brothers.
So we kept meeting each other at different events, but he was just another guy, And then when Tim passed away, about 4 years,
4 years
later, Sam's wife Peggy died from cancer. They lived in Illinois. We lived in Texas. And one day I got an email from Sam, and he said, "Dixie, how are you?" And I thought, what does he want? And I knew what he wanted, because when your spouse dies, you want to talk about them all the time. Nobody else does, because they don't want you to feel bad or cry. So we didn't talk. We emailed. It's pretty old-fashioned. And we sent emails back and forth, and I would ask about Peggy and her illness and, everything they did. And then I guess we ran out of that, and we started talking about our families and catching up. And that went on for several months. And then we started sending photos of our families. And then I got this email that said, I'm going to be in Skidmore, Missouri, which is a little teeny town.
Northwest corner of Missouri.
And
Okay.
400 people.
They hold a Freedom Fest.
Okay.
It's not your turn, honey. You can edit.
She keeps me straight.
She does. She cracked that whip.
He said, "Do you want to go?" Well, we had 5 years of cancer treatments, and I was really working 3 jobs to pay off medical bills. And I kept saying, well, I really don't think I can get off work. I was making all kinds of excuses because I was too proud to say I didn't have the money. And finally he said, well, if I pay for your ticket, will you come? I said, okay. So you see how easy it was. In the meantime, then, Sam was cleaning his desk, which he's never done that when we've been married 20 years. But anyway,
I'm a stacker. I have neat stacks.
yeah,
but
he's
I never
neat.
stack.
He's neat, but he's He's a hoarder, I think.
He knows where everything is, though.
Yeah. He had a phone ledger on the desk, and a Post-it note fell out in Peggy's handwriting, and it said, "Call Dixie," and it had my phone number on it. And that's when he sat down and called me. And again, the rest is history, you know.
My goodness.
And all he did was laugh, really. He laughed like one of those cartoon dogs. And but we re-met each other then in Skidmore, Missouri, and it was things were a lot different then when we re-met each other.
Yeah.
And a year later, we got married there on
At the
stage.
Freedom Fest. 2,500 of our best friends were in the audience.
We had a big cake.
My goodness.
But and then in the meantime, after that first meeting, we would meet at a couple of different events, and we would meet each other maybe once a month or so. And I remember taking him down to Wimberley, Texas, to meet our son Tony and Christy, his wife, and the grandkids. And we were all standing around a trampoline with the little kids jumping. And little Hannah came up to me and she said, "Grandma, does he kiss you?" And I said, "Sometimes." And she goes, "The little kids, you know."
Yeah.
The little girls are money. Oh, the little boys, ooh. So that year was really interesting. That's how I got to really know about what he did and how involved it was.
Right.
And of course, I had known veterans for a very long time with Tim, but and then I went, when Tim and I traveled, you got to meet a lot of vets that way.
Yeah.
And because his music was mainly for veterans. I mean, he had a recording contract in Nashville, but the most rewarding was music for vets.
Yeah.
And so some of it was a surprise, a lot of it was not. So that really helped me too.
Yeah, I love that. I love the note card falling out.
Yes.
It was my Baby Joe.
Oh my gosh.
Did we save that?
My heart just
I think
burst.
we did.
That's still something. I haven't seen it for a while, but yes.
Yeah.
Probably in one of the stacks somewhere.
Yep.
Well, you guys, together you guys just emanate so much love. What is your secret to a happy and healthy relationship that lasts the test of time?
You go first. I want to hear this.
Yes.
I try to make her eyes sparkle as often and as much as I can. Whatever it takes, that's my job, but to make her eyes sparkle. And as you can see, they sparkle a whole lot.
Oh my gosh.
I think it is trust.
Yeah.
I know that if something happens, he will be there for me. No matter what it is, I will be his first priority.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
I know where his priorities lie. I know what we mean to each other.
Yeah.
And man, you've got to be friends first, because if you're together 24 hours a day, you're either going to really like it or hate him, because but I think we always have each other's back. I know when he's getting tired, and I take over talking so he can take a little break.
I love that.
And if one of us gets stumped by something, the other person just jumps in and finishes the thought. I guess that maybe is being together too much, but I think we're at a point in all these years where we are just totally comfortable now.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like you also know, what he's going through, and you mentioned before too when he's experiencing the emotions.
I have post-traumatic stress. I have traumatic brain injury.
Yeah.
I have these visions in my head almost constantly. But when I reach over and touch Dixie, it lets me know where I am.
Oh.
And that's why.
He does that at night all the time. It gets pretty annoying. But, this hand comes over. Just
touch her.
But I know what it is.
Yeah,
and So I just pat him, and I don't even know if you even wake up sometimes when you do that, but he said it brings him back.
I love that. I love that. Well,
Geez, if something happens to me, you have to get a hot water bottle or something and put it over there. You think it's me?
and it's not going to happen. Well, as you both know, it's the Vietnam veterans, particularly the ones in Gary's family, that really made an impact on him, and specifically when they returned home. So I have to ask you, how was your return home?
Coming back to the United States, we landed in San Francisco, and we had an hour and a half, 2 hour between flights. Well, when we got off the airplane, I was not in uniform. But all the people that were there waiting on us knew that we were all Vietnam vets just coming home from Vietnam.
You kind of like all had the same haircut,
Yes,
Right.
yes.
the
Well,
duffel bag.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they were screaming at us and calling us all kinds of unmentionable names when we did not respond. The sergeant on the airplane told us that, okay, now there's going to be a bunch of people waiting for you, and they're going to say and do things that's unimaginable, that your job is to ignore them and walk straight to your next
They
gig.
prepared you for your,
Yes, they
you were
told
not
us.
going to be welcomed.
Told us what to do. So we're thinking, well, okay. We'd never experienced it before, so we didn't know the depth of it. We got off the plane, and there were, well, it seemed like thousands, but there probably weren't that many. Probably 200 or 300, I don't know. But they were screaming at us, and they had signs, and when we didn't respond, then they started getting more sick. They were hitting us with the signs,
And canes. They had
and
canes.
most of them acted like they were disabled and had canes, and that was their clubs, and that's what they were whacking us with the club, trying to get us to respond. They knew that when the Vietnam veterans had them by the throat, that the news media would be there.
Would capture that.
So, but we knew not to, and we upheld. We marched through it. And,
Oh, you had the dog doo-doo too.
oh yeah, they had bags of what they picked up in the yard after their dog, and when we did not respond to the canes and the screaming and pushing and shoving, then they got. That was before plastic gloves. They was just reaching in and they'd rub it on us, trying to get it in their mouth, and we still did not respond. We just kept marching right through them. I have had at least 3 times since that, 50 years ago, I've had people walk up to me and say, Sergeant Davis, I was one of those people that greeted you at the airport in San Francisco when you came home from Vietnam. And I want to say I apologize. We all had been misled.
Yeah.
And in my life since then, I've discovered, and they give me a hug, and that's happened 3 times. It just makes your heart feel good.
Yeah, has that been healing? Because I can imagine,
Yes.
I mean,
Oh, definitely.
We one time spoke to a school in Rockford, Illinois. There was a teacher there, and you could tell he was an old hippie, and he had a big peace sign symbol necklace.
It was
And
beautiful.
after Sam got done speaking, he walked up to Sam and he took his hand and he put that peace sign in that he was wearing. He said, I don't need this anymore. This still makes me cry. I don't need this anymore. I am so sorry.
And the look in his eyes is what melted your heart.
And we took him, got to know him quite well because we lived near Rockford at the time. And met him at the wall one time in Washington, D.C. And Sam carried that medal in his Medal of Honor box for years. And I said, why don't you give it back to him and see if he even wants it? So Sam did. He took Don's hand, he put it in his hand. He said, I wanted to know if you wanted this back. And Don said, I was hoping I'd see that again someday. It was made for me by a friend that's gone now. And so, and then it was shortly after that he passed away from cancer. Then we got to know his son, who we kind of helped along a little bit. And And he ended up joining the military, of all things.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
You continue to heal hearts and
they continue to heal me.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that keeps us going today is
Yeah.
the people that we meet and what they say and the look in their eyes.
Yeah.
And it just gives you the courage to keep going.
I love that.
You don't lose till you quit trying.
Exactly. So Dixie, Sammy receiving the Medal of Honor was truly the beginning of his continuance of service. And so what is that like for you? I mean, to experience all this.
Well, at first I thought, this is a pain in the neck because people look at me
Yeah.
and judge me according to Sam. And it just went back to the way I was raised with the 2 secrets of life that my parents taught me was act right, be nice. That's it.
Yeah.
And then when I found my own voice and
Yeah.
started being able to help people, now it's just what we do.
Yeah.
And we've always been firm believers, my family, and Sam's too, I'm sure, is that your life should be service to others.
Yeah.
And that comes back 100-fold. I mean, that sounds really self-righteous, like we're doing this for everybody. But you get so rewarded for that. And if you can make just one person feel better each day, and I tell that to school kids, I said, I want you to do one good deed a day.
Yeah.
It might be somebody that's being bullied. Don't let them do that.
Yeah.
I said, you do that for 3 months straight, then it becomes a habit for life.
I love that.
So I enjoy what we do. And you get used to that, being observed and judged. And I thought, I just have to be myself. I can't be somebody else. But I'm a fairly nice guy, I guess. I don't
yes.
get hate letters or anything.
No,
but
of course.
we laugh a lot and have fun. In our own hometowns, we're good because everybody knows us and knows we're real people. And I think that's another secret. People think that you're this big-time person.
Right.
And we're not. We're just regular people. And the quicker you can make somebody laugh and feel comfortable, then they go, oh, yeah, they're just like us. And then they can hear what you say.
I love that. That is beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as a couple, I mean, your role is you guys are equals. You're out there and you're in your outreach and helping others. And so how do you guys support each other in that? And why is that important?
He just does what I say.
And that's a fact.
Okay. That's it. There you
But
go.
she does what I say also.
Yeah, we both do.
love
But,
that.
I think you get good at, that old say, read the room.
Yep.
And you know what people want and expect. And we can lead each other very easily in the questions or answers that we give. I don't know, it's just something that we pick up on, I guess. I've never really analyzed that, but
Life experience.
yeah, life experience, that's a good one, Sam.
I love that. And so it's taken you, your outreach efforts, it's taken you far and wide all over the country or the world, all over the world.
Yes.
And so I have to ask, how did you meet Gary? And what was your first impression of him?
Go ahead.
I've got a good one.
Okay.
We actually met at Contini Park in Chicago, where he's from originally, and does a big concert.
Yep.
Do they still do that every year?
I think they still have the concert, yeah.
So we went with friends. We did not know him, but the movie had come out, and we saw them, and we said, wait, that's you in the movie. And so after or before, I guess, we just go marching up the stage, and he had to go through a few people, and Sam said, I'd like to talk to Gary Sinise.
Yeah.
And so we did. Gary was so nice. He just came down off the stage where he was real busy, and Sam said, my body was in your movie.
I'm the real Forrest Gump.
And he knew nothing of that. He had no clue. And I bet Gary just thought he was a crazy person from nowhere.
Oh my goodness.
And so that was the start. After you talked to him a little bit, I think he figured it out, and they went back. But they were told that it wasn't based on anybody. And I guess they thought maybe that was just movie.
Wait, so explain to me, what do you mean by the movie? Well, what part of it?
Where
Well, the whole movie is based on,
Forrest Gump, yeah.
on me. Now, it's movie, so they,
Yeah.
but the whole movie is based on me.
It's actually where President Johnson is putting the medal on Sam.
Yeah.
And they put Tom Hanks' face over Sam's face. So that's actually his original
It's your
Medal of Honor
behind, your back.
presentation. Yeah.
Yes.
That. I love that. Do you have any favorite memories with him, with Gary?
Oh, lots of them.
Yeah.
We did and I don't, maybe you were even there. I don't know what state we were in, but they had a private showing for veterans of Forrest Gump. This was, I don't know, a few years ago. So he invited us, and we were all there. And then when they showed the movie, we actually went out to eat there.
I love
But
that.
anyway, he introduced Sam, and he said, Sammy and I made a movie together a while back.
Oh, I love that.
I know, wasn't that cute?
I love that.
The other thing is Gary's Uncle Jack, his dad's brother.
Yep.
His cousin Kim lived next door to my brother in northern Illinois.
Way out in the country.
In the country. So Uncle Jack would come down to our family get-togethers. I didn't know who he was. I
He
just
was
thought he
Uncle
was a
Jack.
neighbor.
I thought he was really our uncle.
Oh my goodness.
So we did an event with Gary. And
So your
there's-
family.
Uncle Jack was there.
My uncle was there.
Your
And I'm thinking, wait.
Oh
So
my-
that's how, and then the neighborhood would laugh when Gary he took Uncle Jack a lot of places. They'd be a limousine come out to the country and pick up Uncle Jack, and then the whole neighborhood was, oh, I wonder where the event is this time. Uncle Jack is going with Gary. And one day I got an email from Gary, and he said, recognize this? Here is a picture of my house where I grew up, which my dad owned a couple farms, and it was my original farmhouse. And I did not have a picture of that. And it meant so much. In fact, I put it in my book, but I gave Gary a photo credit, and I told him, I said, if this acting thing doesn't work out, you could maybe go into photography. But that was so kind, and he said, Gary told me later, he said, Jack said, this is where Dixie grew up. He said, stop the car, and got out and took that picture
I love
for
that.
me.
I love
know.
that. And Uncle Jack, just so our listeners
Did you
can
get
know,
to know him?
I did not. No, I got to know Bob. So yeah. But I mean, I have a lot of history. I know so much history of Uncle Jack because he was in World War II and he was a B-17 navigator, and so Gary loved bringing him along. And
He was a great guy.
Yes, he
He went, eventually, he got Alzheimer's, and just so suddenly, but
Yeah.
he went to a little area nursing home where my grandparents had been. So every time we go see my brother, we'd stop up and visit with
Say,
Uncle
"Look at
Jack. And I don't know why it was always when he was eating, but we would go in, and he'd summon a waitress who was a nurse, and he said, get these people whatever they want and put it on my tab.
oh my goodness, how cute!
I know.
I love that.
One other time we went to the house and we're visiting there, and they had a little baby lamb in the kitchen, bottle feeding it.
Goat.
Now, Kim was not, was it a
It was
goat?
a baby goat.
Okay.
Just a day or two old. I mean, it was
I
brand
love
new,
it.
brand new.
So we're getting ready to leave, and Sam said, okay, I'll take a video and send it to Gary. So I'm holding the little goat, and Uncle Jack is beside me, and I do a hi, hello to Gary, and said, Uncle Jack, do you have anything you want to say to Gary? And he goes, no. So that was the end of that one.
A man, a few words.
Yes,
A man,
I
a few
know.
words.
He was a great guy.
I love that. Well, we actually have a surprise from Gary, and he wanted to ask a question for you, so I was going to show that to you. So, surprise.
Okay.
All right, here it is.
Sammy and Dixie, Gary here. I have a question. First of all, I'm so glad you're there doing the podcast with Cristin. Thank you so much. Everybody's going to love hearing from you. I have a question. Do you remember about your Medal of Honor ceremony? Anything that was a little out of the ordinary, maybe a little humorous, a little little fun fact that folks wouldn't know. You know, we all see the Medal of Honor ceremonies, and it's very, medal going around, and the certificate is red and all of that. Any funny little memories that you have from that ceremony? We sure all remember Forrest Gump getting the medal put around his neck in the movie, and how funny that was. So God bless you. Let us know. We're all curious. Thanks for being there, bud.
Thank you, brother.
Is he referring to when the president wanted to see your butt?
The president asked, well, where was I shot? Because I was shot 30 times. And I was going to, I was just going to drop my trousers and show him where I was shot, but then wisdom kicked in. I just pulled my pants down just enough that he could see. And what I was shot with is beehive. They're little arrows, 1.125 inches long, with got little fins on them. That's one of the things that I remember the next morning after it was all over, and I'm sitting there on the edge of my foxhole, and man, I was just hurting so bad. Well, I'd been shot in the right leg with a rifle, so I could see the big hole. I knew why that. Well, why do I hurt so bad up here? I didn't have a shirt on, and I could just had blood trickling down everywhere, and I wipe it off, and I couldn't see nothing. I'd wipe it off, and it'd start bleeding. I'd go, wow. Shot with beehive. So that's what I had, was the beehive holes in from here to here. I had 30 wounds. And so what I was going to show the president, well,
I know another one. When he was talking to you about fishing, this was not during the ceremony, but they had a little private thing, and then saying, I have this little ranch
just 90 miles south of where you're stationed at. I was at Fort Hood, Texas. He said, come down and see me. And he hands me a card that had the combination to get in his gate.
The president.
The president, yes. So I did.
You did. You showed up.
Oh, I was there.
Well, because he remembered he had 2 daughters, unmarried. Just saying.
Opportunist.
They were sweet girls, but I loved going down and being with them. The president was not there, but his wife,
Lady Bird.
Lady Bird, was there, and her and I became friends, and it was just a sitting and talking. We would call the president from his home in Texas and talk back and forth, and it just made my heart feel good.
Oh my goodness.
It just made my heart feel good.
I think the funny one was Linda Bird. They had this big pool, and they gave Sam the pool house to stay in. So he said, so I saw her out there on one of the lounges.
Yeah.
So I thought I would just go out and introduce myself.
I was not married at the time.
Correct.
So he said, so I threw a towel over my arm like they do in the movies and went walking out there and pulled up a chair not real close to her, but and she got up and moved to the other side of the pool.
Oh no! Oh no!
And Lady Bird apologized for her daughter.
Oh.
So, I mean, I guess you didn't quite do the movie thing right, evidently.
I didn't have a towel right.
Oh my goodness. I think it's so crazy too. I would never have guessed in a million years that I'd be sitting down with the real Forrest Gump, and all thanks to Mac, And so, as you know, this podcast is in honor of Mac, so Gary's son. Yeah.
Yes,
I've got a sweet Mac story for you,
Do
too.
you?
Yes.
Okay, I want to hear it.
I know you've got one, too. We were doing an event, and somebody with Gary, and there was people standing with us. You know how that voice is. And there was this nice young man, and I hadn't been introduced yet. And so Gary said, Dixie, come in here. I want you in the picture. So I turned to this young man, and I said, will you hold my purse? So that's how I got to know
And he
Mac.
did.
And he did.
With no-
He would. Yep.
Yes,
That's
and then
Mac.
every time I'd see him since that, he'd hold my purse just for old time's sake. He He was such a
Oh, I
nice
love
kid.
that.
And we went to the office in California one time
Mm-hmm.
and got a tour, and he was just so darn sweet.
Yeah.
He was just a really nice young man.
Yes, it was.
It was
God
so
bless him.
special for him.
Yeah.
And he's still with us in our hearts.
Yeah, and you guys developed a special relationship. In fact, you were one of the inspirations to get him back into playing music.
Yes.
Can you tell us how that came to be?
We were at an event back behind the stage, and I don't know how I was going to play the harmonica, so I pulled my harp out and, was lightly, not real loud, so, didn't bother. But and it sparked his interest. So, well, how do you play that? Well, I gave
Did you have the extra one with you?
Yes. I gave Mac one of my harps. And the next time that we seen together, which wasn't that, a month or two later, and he was playing Shenandoah better than I could. I mean, he was.
Actually, that was on the phone. Gary called. He said, I want you guys to hear this. And Mac played it for us.
Yeah.
And that was special.
It is, yeah.
Yep.
In fact, he does it on his record,
Oh, yeah,
Resurrection
we've
and Revival.
listened to
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Awesome.
you have, yeah.
I didn't know he was such a great musician. And that,
Incredible. Can you play Shenandoah for us?
I would be honored to play Shenandoah.
Love that.
I would like to play my harmonica and dedicate the song Shenandoah to Mac, because he is still with us in our hearts. To you, brother. Love you, Mac.
What a gift this song was and continues to be. I wanted to ask you, what message do you hope that people take away from your stories?
No matter what you're faced with, you don't lose until you quit trying.
Beautiful.
And that's one of the things that we tell all the schools that we talk to. And there again, we'll be in another city, wherever, and a young male or female will come walking up to, you played Shenandoah for us when I was in the 6th grade, and you just inspired our hearts. You know, I mean, just little things like that happened all the time. It's just, we can't quit. We don't lose till we quit trying, and we're not going to quit trying.
I love that.
I'd like to add something to that. I think that, like Mac, that it's what you leave behind.
Yeah.
And the people you might have touched, those you might have helped, those that you continue to help, even though he's not here anymore. Anybody that listens to that music, that album, and the song he wrote, oh my goodness, that inspired me when I heard that the first time. And I thought, my goodness, there's a lot of wisdom in somebody that young. And that I think that we're all sent here to progress, to learn and progress. And when somebody dies young, like Mac did, he's learned it.
Yeah.
It's the rest of us that haven't caught on yet. But he was one of the wise ones, and he learned what he needed to know and got to go back where he's fine. You know, he's walking and running and playing his music.
Yeah.
And we also are firm believers in that we'll all be together again as families.
Absolutely.
That, and he can say, Cristin, I saw you do that. You know,
I hear it all the time in my head. I'm always asking for help. I'm like, please help me.
But it's what you can leave behind on how you might have helped someone else. And the best ones are the ones you don't even know that you did.
Yeah, that is exactly it. Just beautiful, beautifully said. Thank you both so much for coming on the podcast.
Honored
You were
to be here with you.
a joy and a delight and a reminder that it's about love.
It is.
Yeah.
That's,
Yes.
people seem to take for granted that I wear this because I'm a brave man. I'm not a brave man. I wear this because of the love in my heart for my brothers and for America. And that's what this represents. This represents love.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's exactly it.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
thank you.
Well said.
Well said. And as we do with every podcast, Mac will finish the show.
You've been listening to GSF Podcast, the official podcast of the Gary Sinise Foundation. If you'd like to find out more about what the foundation is up to, or if you'd like to make a donation, please visit GarySiniseFoundation.org. Make sure to tune in next time for more interviews, and thanks for joining us.